Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to another live. How are you? Hello to everybody that's joined. It's so nice to be back on the lives with you guys today. There's so much to talk about. As usual, it's going to be a jam-packed live for you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box below. If you have any questions related to spirituality, manifestation, energy work, anything along those lines, I am happy to answer them for you. I have a little notes here, so let's go through them very slowly and I will answer any questions that you have. Hi, Billa Horace. How are you? How's it going? How are you feeling with this new post-full moon energy? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if you guys have any questions about spirituality. Again, I'm happy to answer them and to support you in any way that I can. So per usual, I want to go through some of the posts that I made during the week, and I kind of want to talk about them or elaborate on them some more, and to just give you some background into what I'm talking about and to explain it further, just in case people need some clarification. So let's go through the first point. So one of the posts I was talking about, and I had said, as the light grows, so does resistance to it. And this is true, right? If you're a light body and you embody light within you and you're emanating that light, you're going to get resistance. And what that resistance could come into, it could come in many forms. It can come by people resisting you. It can come by external sources like your environment. It can come from just situations that are going to block you, so to speak, or that feel kind of hard to you. Or maybe you attract people like narcissists, or you attract like haters or something like that. But this is typical what we see when anytime you have light, it's that polarity that's always in existence, right? You need that balance. And I've talked about it before where if you have light, you automatically have dark. If you have good, you have bad, because you cannot know one without knowing the other. And if you go back on a couple of lives, I explain this in a lot more detail, but it's the same thing when it comes to the light. As the light starts to grow and develop even within the collective, you're going to see a lot of pushback. You're going to see a lot of resistance. And like I talked about in the last lives, right? You can see this playing out in religion. You can see it playing out in politics. You can see it playing out in warfare. So it's the same kind of thing. That polarity, it needs to exist, because to know one, you have to know the other. Like, how would you know something? I'll give you a practical example. How would you know something is bad if you don't know what good is? How would you know that something is, dark energy if you don't know what light energy was, right? How would you know these things? You need that polarity. How would you know life if you don't know death? So again, we need, and yes, they are two extremes, but they exist on a spectrum that needs to, think of it like this, right? There's two extremes and they're on this spectrum, but then they're balanced, right? You need to balance the two. So again, that's why when we see the light growing, we also see the resistance to it as well. So it's the exact same thing. And that's why I said, as it grows, even as it grows in the collective and as it grows within you, you can expect to see some resistance to it. That is natural. That is definitely going to happen. That has happened to me in my spiritual awakening and in my journey, and will most likely happen to you. It comes in many forms. It will manifest in different ways and in different forms in your life. So it's your job to kind of figure out, how is that going to manifest in my life? What does that look like? How does it affect my life? And how can I move forward through that? So again, it looks different for everybody. It's not going to look the same for everyone. You really need to figure out and see how it's going to play into your life, right? Because all of our lives are different, right? We all have different stuff going on. So again, it's going to look different, but as you grow, as you raise your level of consciousness, expect the resistance. It is natural. It is normal. It will feel harder than the average person's resistance. It will feel harder because of the density of it, if that makes sense. And it will feel difficult for you to move through it. but there's no way out of it unless you actually work through it and move through it. Don't think that it's just going to pass. You literally have to do the work to, again, move through it. Sorry, I'm just checking something right here. So again, yeah, that's what's going to happen, right? If your light grows, once the light grows in the collective, we can expect resistance to see this. If you literally map out like just current events and history, you'll see that this is what has been happening, right? We have a lot of people who are light workers and light beings, a lot of people waking up in the collective, and then we have a lot of resistance to it. So that's what I was talking about in that post. And again, apply this to your own life. As you raise in consciousness, you will see this resistance naturally happen to you. Okay, so that's that. Let me know if you have any questions. And then the next thing I was talking about was, you saw the post where I was working with horses. I want to say again, because like it's really, really interesting. So I don't want to say that I've worked with horses like for all my life, because that's not true. I've only interacted with horses maybe when I was a young child. And I remember like, you know, you're a child and you're scared of them. They're big, they're scary, I don't know, okay? They're just overwhelming for a small child. And I only like interacted with horses maybe twice in my life as a child. And then it was so strange. It's only like recently, within the last couple of months, I felt like I was supposed to interact with horses. And typically, that wasn't normal for me. I was always interacting with smaller animals. Maybe like I had a hamster when I was growing up. We had, you know, smaller pets. But as I grew up as an adult, I started interacting more with cats, and I felt really called to cats. For example, I even manifested my black baby little kitten. She was so cute, but then I got allergic to her. You guys will see that in a post if you go down in my feed. And maybe like dogs, but like in terms of animals, that was all I ever really felt called to. Really, I felt called and pulled for that black baby kitten and black cats. And generally, I always feel called towards kittens and cats. But this was the first time that I felt called for such a big, large animal. And mind you, I don't have any adult experience working with horses, so I didn't know, you know, what my expectations should be going in there. I didn't know how to interact with horses. I didn't know if I would be anxious or anything like that. And I kept putting it off for a couple of months. Like September, I was putting it off. September, October, I put it off a little bit, you know, early October. And then the call was just so strong, and like, I just couldn't deny it anymore. And then I went out and I worked with these horses and I went for a ride. And it was surprising about how calm I was working with these animals. I didn't feel any stress. I didn't feel any anxiety. I felt very much at ease. And it was very, very interesting, because if you looked up the spiritual meaning of horses, it represented, I talked about it in the post, like freedom, strength. And it's very much indicative of where I am in life and what I'm feeling is going on and the changes that I'm seeing in my life. So I think it's a great little connection between what Spirit was trying to tell me and having it look and manifest in my real life by working with horses. So yeah, that's interesting. Again, and I talked about it in the last live where, you know, sometimes during your awakening, you will see different animals or be introduced to different animals or spirit beings or spirit guides. And again, some of those are like cardinals, some of them are spiders, some of them are, you know, all these different little beings. And it's very, very interesting, the synchronicity between the animal kingdom and humans and the way that they work in the spirit world and the same way that they interact with us here in the 3D. So again, if you feel called to work with animals or to interact with a certain animal, I would encourage you to really approach that with a sense of openness and with a very broad mindset, because you don't know what you're going to get out of it. You could be working with the animal and maybe they give you a message. You could be working with the animal, maybe they give you some sort of support. there's different things that could happen by working with these animals. All the animals interact in a different way. They all communicate in a different way, like I've talked about before, and they all have a different aura and energy to them that will somehow support you in your life and in your journey. You really got to engage with them to figure out what that is. Sometimes, it's not going to be as spiritual as you like it to be. Sometimes it was simply like me just going out and being in the presence of the horses and feeling their stability and feeling their strength and feeling how strong they were, and just like, even when you're riding them, like, just support them, being able to support your weight, and like, they're just such powerful beings, and they're so majestic, and you don't know what that's going to look like when you are working with the animals, right? You won't know what their meaning is until you actually engage with them and interact with them. So again, if you feel called, and I feel like a lot of people are going to feel called in the next couple of months to get more pets or like interact with different animals, again, I would so encourage you to do something like that, because you're just going to get a lot of joy out of it, and there's going to be a lot of meaning there for you. Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay. The next thing I want to chat about is the post where I said that the byproduct of your spiritual awakening and your ascension is your superhuman gifts. And this is true. You will experience a activation of your gifts. And let's be clear here. Everybody has gifts. You have gifts. I have gifts. Every single person has gifts. But in some people, the gifts are activated. In some people, they are not. It depends on different circumstances and the level of work that you're willing to do to activate your gifts and then maintain the activation of these gifts, right? So those are two different things. The activation of your gifts and then maintaining your gifts, or basically cultivating your gifts, right? It's a skill set. You need to train for it. You can't just have the gifts. It's like going to school, right? Or studying for a test. You can't just expect to pass if you don't do the work and you don't study. So it's the exact same thing with your gifts. So let's just break this down a little bit more. So a lot of you know my story. I had moved to the US to be in law school almost 10 years ago. And it was upon moving, I think like literally the first day, I started my spiritual awakening and journey, and I went through it all the while trying to complete law school. That's what happened to me. So there were a lot of external factors at play that sparked my spiritual awakening. Okay. Like, it wasn't just like I activated them myself. It was a combination of meeting certain people. I met a man at this time. It was also the geographic location, and it was also the stress factor of being in school, right? And there's a lot of pressure to perform in law school. So there was a combination of external factors that sparked my spiritual awakening, which thus activated my gifts. Then I actively worked on developing my gifts. How did I do that? I started talking with mentors. I started talking about people who had these gifts, hearing about their experiences, learning, doing my own research, practicing discernment on how to use my gifts. And I just started practicing. After that, it was activation, development, and then cultivation. And cultivation is a stage where you actually learn to harness your gifts and use them for service, and you're in control of them. That's where I would say I have moved, like, in that stage, and I've moved past that stage. I have full control of my gifts. And that's what you need to learn to do, right? You need to learn to cultivate your gifts and be in control of your gifts. And they are superhuman gifts. They're not like ordinary. They're not ordinary, okay? Like, they're superhuman. And people are going to think like, okay, that's like so far-fetched. Like, who are you? Like some type of, superhero or something like that. It's not as like extreme as that. I don't want you to think of it like it's that extreme, because it's not. It's very natural. It's just, think of it like natural gifts, but it's heightened in a way, okay? It's heightened to a very extreme way where you are it just becomes very natural to you, and it's like your daily life. So I'm going to give you an example of like what are some of these superhuman gifts that I have. And they might sound crazy to you because you maybe have not experienced them. But for some of you, you might be like, yes, she clocked it. Like, that was right. So the first one that I've experienced is extrasensory hearing. Yes, everybody has hearing, if we're lucky with that. Some people are not able to hear, but this is a different type of hearing. This is a hearing that is extrasensory. So what does that mean? That means that I can hear extremely, extremely well. I can hear things that are a mile away. I can hear things that are very, very far away. I can hear things that are spoken very softly. I often have trouble sleeping at night because I can hear almost any noise, and then like that, I'll wake up. It's an extraordinary sense of hearing that, I mean, it's a gift. But again, all of these gifts, like, yes, they're gifts, but they also have a downside, right? Because we're here in the 3D world. So obviously they're kind of like bothersome, right? Like, I can't sleep. But it's an extrasensory gift. Like, you can hear things literally so far away. I can't even explain it to you. You can hear things that people are saying. You can hear things that are like down the street. It's an extraordinary gift. Hi, Patricia. How are you? So again, this extrasensory hearing comes into play once your superhuman gifts are activated. And that's just one of them. It's an incredible, incredible ability to hear things that the average person cannot hear. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Patricia, let me know if you have any questions. We're talking about all things spirituality. The next thing that I want to talk about is a gift of vision. So again, I've talked about this before in the lives. This is a different type of vision. This is like seeing things in HD. So I don't know if you guys have like a high definition TV or a camera, and you can see every minute detail, every movement, every small minute detail. That's what it's like when you have this vision. You see things in HD. Things become very, very crystal clear. And I'll give you a practical example. Just think you're looking out in a forest, and the average person would be like, okay, there's the leaves, there's the trees, like whatever. No, when you have this level of vision, you see the movement of every leaf. You see it singly and simultaneously within all the leaves. It's a very, very detailed level of vision. And it's also vision that is like, you can see the whole scope of things. You don't just see things that are within your immediate line of vision. You see things in the periphery as well. Regardless if you're looking for it or not, you will see the movement with accurate detail. So it's a complete different level of vision, and I would describe it as an extremely high level of vision. Again, it's not something that's normal, and people aren't familiar with that level of vision. And when you start explaining it to people, they're just gonna think you're crazy, but literally that's how it operates. It's very high definitional. Hi to everyone that's joy. Okay, the next thing is the other superhuman gift that I want to talk about is sight. And it's not the same sight as I'm talking about with vision. I'm talking about the sight to be able to see in the past, the present, and future. And that's where we have this term that comes in, right? Like psychics, or people who are gifted, or people with, they generally fall within that category. But again, it's the gift of sight. It's the gift of knowing things that happened in the past, and seeing things that are going to happen in your immediate present, and seeing things in the future. There's so much to unpack with this gift, because the gift of sight is very intense. And when I say like you see things in the past, right, you're seeing it in your mind's eye, but you literally see the whole situations play out. You see events that have happened. You can see the surrounding environment that inventor, like let's say there was, I don't know, your parents met at a soccer game, 15 years ago, I could see that whole event, right? I could see the game, the field, the people, the players. So it's extraordinary because it's very, very detailed. And it's, again, in the past. Those memories, right, are not gone. Those memories are locked into a different part of spirit and the universe, which I'm gaining access to and seeing those memories in real time. But I'm here in the present, if that makes sense. And the gift of sight also allows you to see things in the future. And this is where a lot of people in the collective, find some difficulty with understanding, because they're like, well, things you see in the future, DNA. Yes. What do you mean by DNA? Can you explain that further? Yeah, it's in your DNA. It's also embedded in your DNA. But like seeing things in the future, right? People find this a little bit controversial because they're also like, well, if you predict something in the future, it doesn't come true. That's also true, right? Because the future hasn't happened yet, there's also this ability that the future can change, because everybody has free will, right? You can do something today that will change your future, right? Something can happen in in a split second, and that is your free will, and that is going to change the future, that what I'm seeing for you. So again, that's where your free will comes into play, and spirit is not going to compromise or interfere with your free will. They're always going to let you have that. So again, that's why you see people who are, I don't know, like think of it like in crime, right? You see like these people who have like a great life, and then in 1 minute they decide to like drink and drive, and then they're in jail for the rest of their life, right? It's that free will choice that has altered the course of their life. Therefore, the vision that I have for them, or the vision that somebody sees in the future, will actively change. So again, so this person said Pavtha, they said DNA. So yes, this is all in our DNA, right? Everybody's coded with these gifts. Like I said before, nobody's excluded. Everybody has them. It's just up to you to activate them and to cultivate them. But again, yeah, it's in your DNA. So this gift of sight is incredible. There's just so much to say about it. It will help you in almost every area of your life. And the thing about these gifts is, like, once these gifts are activated for you and you start using them, you're going to want to talk about them. You're going to want to share about them. And I made this mistake early on my journey where, I was predicting things for people, and I was just sharing it to them without, really asking them for permission, or really explaining to them where this was coming from. And a lot of people, again, there was a lot of resistance to that. A lot of people would get angry. A lot of people would get mad. A lot of people, wouldn't believe me. And I was trying to, convince them, well, this is my abilities. This is how it works. And it wasn't until my mentor had told me, like, don't do that. Like, stop trying to convince people of your gifts. Just, use your gifts and people will see it. And that's essentially what exactly has happened. I stopped talking about it. I stopped predicting things for people who never asked me to predict for them. And the truth starts speaking for itself. The light starts speaking for itself. And then people will naturally understand that you do have a gift and that you know what you're talking about. So again, I would caution everybody to don't make the mistake that I did. Don't share your gifts with people who are not there yet, because they will not understand. Don't share your gifts with people who have not requested or have not given you permission to share your gifts with them. Because keep in mind, a lot of these people are, still unawakened or unconscious. And when you start predicting stuff about their lives and it starts coming true, it scares a lot of people. And generally what happened for me was I would predict things, and then like serious things like marriages failing, cheatings, affairs, deaths, and they come true within a time frame. And then people realize, shoot, she was right. So you have to let people experience things on their own terms. Okay, so Pavtha said, the symptoms of cognitive dissonance. When people are faced with information they can't face, their brain shuts down. Yes, exactly. Their brain shuts down. Some people are just really happy living their 3D lives, right? They cannot imagine anything other than what they're experiencing in their current reality. So again, when I'm talking about these superhuman gifts, it's going to sound very bizarre to most people because they haven't experienced it and they don't think it's real, and it sounds foreign and it sounds crazy, but it's absolutely not. And I mean, what can you do, right? You can't sit there and waste your time trying to convince people and prove your worth to people who essentially don't deserve it at this time, right? They don't deserve access to your gifts, because access to your gifts and them, responding this way is a disservice to you. It's a disservice to the light. It's an insult in a way, right? So take your energy back and don't engage. The next gift that I want to talk about that a lot of people are not accustomed, Spirit allows them to live the level of life they are assigned at that time. Yes, Spirit, that's true. Spirit will allow them to live the level of life they are assigned to at that time. Everybody signed up for where you are at. But again, you can make choices in your life with your free will that will take you to different paths and different levels, right? So there are ways to activate and to get and seek enlightenment or to seek a higher level of consciousness. But essentially, you are where you're supposed to be, put it that way. The next gift that I want to talk about, again, like I said, that a lot of people are not accustomed to hearing people talk about, and that is going to sound very, very strange, is telepathy. Telepathy came further along in my journey. Actually, that's not true. It came quite early in my journey, but I couldn't coin it. I couldn't, identify what it was, because the way telepathy happens in the beginning in your journey is that it's kind of blended with all the other gifts. Like, you think it might be the hearing, or you think it might be your channeling, or you think it might be you connecting with spirit, right? So it seems like the other gifts until you really start learning about it and how it works. That's when you understand that it is actually telepathy. And the way that telepathy works in your journey and when you're at this level that I'm at is that it's insane. You will know things and hear things that people are saying and that they're not saying. So, and this is where it becomes quite problematic if you allow it to be, but like you essentially hear things that people have not said, right? So you're seeing the unseen and you're hearing the what's not spoken. So, and it's not only hearing things, right, with your, with sound, it's also intentions, it's also gestures, it's also thoughts, it's everything, it's all encompassing. You can pick up people's every minute movement, every gesture has a meaning, every movement has a meaning, every thought has a meaning. And with telepathy, you're interpreting all of those things all together. You will not miss it, right? You will not miss one person's eye movement. You will not miss one hand gesture. You will not miss one glance to another person while they're speaking. You will not miss anything. And this is why I say it becomes very concerning if you allow it to be, because you start knowing people's intentions. And once you start knowing people's intentions, the entire game changes. The entire game changes because you now know what people are thinking. And I can tell you that it's not great. Like half the thoughts people are thinking towards you are generally not good. Not even a lot, the majority of the thoughts that you will gain access to through telepathy are not good. A lot of people have ill intentions or self-serving intentions towards you. That's almost always what you will pick up, is that this person is trying to use you or to gain something from you. Rarely, very, very rarely have I come across an instance of telepathy with another person where I was the one benefiting or where it was very neutral or balanced. Very, very rarely. And I think that's normal. I think that is normal, because of the way society is. I think that's normal. And it's so funny because automatically when I'm telling you guys about this, I'm thinking of, I remember I used to work at this law firm, and the lawyer that I used to work for, she's now a judge, and she had kept me on at the law firm. I was still in my 20s at this time, and she had told me, you know, I'm keeping you on at this law firm because good people are hard to find. And I was thinking, like, what is she talking about? Like, and I've talked about this before, I think, and I remember her saying, like, you know, I'm just keeping you on. And I remember thinking, okay, like there's so many other people she can hire that who are good at doing like legal work. Why is she keeping me? And it was only until I became an adult and like started interacting more with people that I realized what she said was true. Good people are really, really hard to find. Extremely hard. You'll find like one person out of like the entire collective, okay, that's actually a good person. And you will see this to be true once you have your superhuman gifts, and you will see this to be absolutely true once you start using your gift of telepathy. You will realize, oh my God, like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, this is insane. People are just like not good. So that's, you know, kind of what happens with telepathy. Obviously, telepathy could be used for good. You can use it to your advantage and to your benefit. But again, a byproduct of telepathy is that you will start to realize the truth and severity of the human existence. Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys have any questions. So again, another gift that I want to talk about is this gift of discernment, and the gift of, see how these gifts all blend into each other. The gifts are not singular. Like they don't yes, they operate by themselves, but the gifts also blend together. They work cohesively. They work together. It's a very, think of it like an ecosystem. Everything supports everything. So again, the next gift is discernment. The gift of discernment is insane. The gift of discernment kind of blends into what I'm talking to about with telepathy. The gift of discernment will allow you to navigate through life very, very smoothly. The gift of discernment, this is the most underrated gift, right? Because people think, oh, it's like judgment. It's like, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just super underrated. I can't really explain it, but the way that the gift of discernment operates is that, yes, the gift of discernment is all seeing. It allows you to know things about people. It allows you to see people's spirit. That's what the gift of discernment does. The gift of discernment allows you to see their spirit. And when you see their spirit, you can operate accordingly. You react accordingly. You act differently. Right? And like I said, most people's spirits are not probably going to be good, right? So again, this gift of discernment will help you avoid these types of people, right? These types of people can come again in forms of narcissists, energy vampires, people who are here to sabotage you, people who are going to cause you trauma, people who are criminals, right? This is the exact type of thing that discernment helps you navigate through. It helps you navigate through everything in life, in almost any environment, in any situation. So you need to, if there's one gift I say you need to get and you need to really, really work on, is your gift of discernment. I would not, honestly, I don't know how people survive without this. And you especially see these gifts at play. This is the crazy part. You especially see how these gifts and the truth and the validity of these gifts come into play in relationships. If you're a man dating a woman, if you're a woman dating a man, whatever, you'll see the dynamics and the gifts at play, and it will blow your mind. As a woman using these gifts and dealing with men, I don't know how I dealt with men before having these gifts. No wonder I had the trauma I had with men before I had these gifts. Because I didn't have the gifts, right? Now that I have them, it's a whole different game, right? I'm not married now, you like right now, but you see why, right? This has to do with spirituality, and has to do with the gifts, where you will know these men's intentions and you will know how they operate. And, you know, you need to pick, as a spiritual person or a person with a gifts and a high level of consciousness, you need to be with the right person. And I also tell this to people where they all say like, you know, you're not married yet. Like, what are you going to do? And I'm just like, you want me to marry a mere mortal? Like, Are you kidding me? Like, I'm so gifted and talented. That's just not an option, right? It has to be a very specific person, and because that person has to have the right spirit, or else if you are this type of person and you're married to someone who is not like this, right? That person, it's going to be like living in your own absolute hell. Let me repeat that. If you are a spiritual person who, I don't care, okay? This even applies if you're not spiritual. If you have gifts and abilities and talents and you are of a higher level of consciousness and you are not with the right person and you use your free will to make an incorrect choice in choosing a partner, you will be living in your own form of hell that you chose for yourself. Period. That's why the decision is super, super important. You will be constant. Let me tell you what your life will look like, because I know some of you can relate. Your life will look like constantly triggered every day. Your life will look like waking up on eggshells. Your life will look like arguments. Your life will look like never being at peace in your own home. That's what your life is going to look like. That's why you need discernment. Discerning the spaces where spirit flows as easily as it can. Yes, 100%. Spirit flows in spaces that you will be able to discern. You need to go where spirit flows. This is very, very true. The next gift I want to talk about is the gift of spirit. What does that mean? That means you recognize yourself as a co-creator and of the essence of spirit. Once you are able to recognize yourself as this creator and in the essence and image of spirit, you will gain access to spirit. You have a direct channel. You have a direct line of communication. You can call on spirit anytime you want. You can call on these little animals anytime you want. Everything in the spiritual realm is now available and fully accessible to you. You do not understand the magnitude of what that means. People don't understand it. And I know half of you don't understand it because you've never experienced it. You need to experience it to understand it. And you'll hear me say sometimes in the lives, there's no words in the human language to describe what I'm talking about. That's true, because this is insane. This is a whole other world and reality that is out there that you have no access to. Can you imagine? You're living in this world right now and you don't have access to a whole other world that's easily and readily available for you, that is made for you to support you and to help you, and you don't have access to it? Like, doesn't that just blow your mind? Literally, like, how, like, I don't even, like, how do you not have access to it? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand, right? Like, why would you not want access to this? There's no logical reason. None at all. If somebody has a logical reason, put in the comment, I'll wait. But there is none. You need access to spirit. You need that connection. And you often see this with people, you know, who are diagnosed with like cancer, or like they're ill or something, or, you know, they're on their deathbed and they're like, why me? Like, God, there is no God. God didn't save me. Well, I'm sorry. Did you have a relationship with spirit before? Were you in communication with the universe daily? Did you even acknowledge them at all in your life? Did you actively have a relationship with spirit or the universe? But now you're dying on your deathbed and you want to call on them for help. Do you think that they're inclined to honor you? Do you think that they're waiting for your beck and call whenever it serves you? That's not how it works. It's a very, very different relationship. It's a relationship that is, you need to develop, and that, hi Kristen, how are you? That is based on trust. It is a reciprocal relationship. There's equal give and take, and that's where That's the missing link for a lot of you. A lot of you do not have that missing link. And that's why when you call on spirit or you call on the universe, they don't show up for you because they don't know who you are. You have never introduced yourself to them figuratively, right? They don't know who you are. I mean, they know who you are, right? Because you're of essence of them, but essentially like you have no relationship with them. You've never communicated with them. So again, this is the gift of spirit. They will help you if you have this gift and if you have this relationship with them. Okay, this is getting wild. Okay, the last gift that I want to talk about is the gift of creativity. The gift of creativity is a superhuman gift that is absolutely insane. And it's not like creativity like how you think of it, right? People are thinking like creativity, like, oh, I'm okay. Like, for example, I was always creative, even as a child, right? I can draw, I can paint, I can craft, everything like that. But this is a different gift of creativity that spirit or the universe will give you or activate within you. This gift of creativity, okay, I'm going to be really blunt here, but this gift of creativity will make you money. They will gift you with ideas. You will come up with, and it looks different, right? It's going to look different for everybody. But for me, what it looks like is, yes, I'm creative in the material, like the practical sense of like I can craft. And like I said before, do all these like paintings and whatever. But it's the ideas. You're able to form very, very creative ideas that you can now use as a business or to make money. Your creativity has no limits. It is open access. It works with the divine. It is exactly what I was talking about, this connection of spirit. It will, the universe and spirit will gift you and give you ideas. And like people undervalue this because this can change your life. You will no longer have to work a 9-to-5 job. You will no longer have to rely on one income. You can have multiple streams of income coming in. The gift of creativity will allow you to expand your life. And I talked about this, I think, on the last live where I was saying like you need to constantly stay in that stream of creativity. You need to tap into the energy of the creativity. And there's practical things that you can do every day to do that, right? Like I talked about these books that I have. For example, like the coloring books or the sticker books or like Sudoku or like crosswords, all of these are creativity, right? They all keep that area of your mind working so that you have access to the gifts, what spirits are trying to give you or trying to help you manifest or create in your life. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys. So again, it's this gift of creativity that is beyond what you're normally familiar with or that you're normally engaging with. It's a higher functioning level of creativity that you can therefore use to change your life and to make money. Why wouldn't you want access to that? Why? I don't understand. So again, these are all superhuman gifts that are a direct byproduct of your awakening and your ascension, whatever you want to call it, okay? This is a direct byproduct. You will get these gifts. They will become activated in you. Again, having the gifts is one thing. I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's important that you understand this. Having the gifts is one thing. Using the gifts and being able to develop them and cultivate them is a different thing. You need control of the gifts. If you do not control the gifts, they will control you. And when they control you, that is absolute chaos and havoc in your 3D life. The gifts will show up and manifest in different ways in your 3D life. And sometimes, I've talked about it on some of the lives, it's not pretty. Sometimes it's not pretty. It can get very, very dark and very scary. And things can really get out of control and out of hand if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't know how to operate these gifts and how to use these gifts and when to use these gifts and how to close these gifts and who to share these gifts with. There's a lot of external factors at play that you need to familiarize yourself with, and I guarantee you're not familiarizing yourself with them. So don't just think, okay, having these gifts are great. There's a lot of work and a lot of back end that comes with these gifts as well. Okay. That's a lot. I know. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Are there more gifts than what I'm talking about here? Yeah, absolutely. There's more gifts. These are the general gifts, I would say. But there, again, like everything I've said, there's levels to these gifts, right? There's very beginner, I want to call it. There's very intermediate. There's very advanced. There's the gifts are insane. They're not like, it's not linear. Like you're going to think of it like, okay, it's beginner, intermediate. I'm just using these words to describe it, but it's very open. It's very, very broad. I like, there's no roof, there's no ceiling, there's no cap to these gifts at all. There's no cap to it, meaning like there's no ceiling. It doesn't stop at a certain level. Okay, it just keeps going and going. And you guys will hear me talking about this before in the lives where I say like, there's levels to this. There's absolutely 100% levels to it. And like, I don't know, you just really have to get on board. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about, and I've said this in one of the lives before where I said that I completely operate by my gifts and I operate by my intuition and my presence. And I think a lot of people were confused about that, but I want to elaborate that quickly for a little bit more. So as you know, right, you can raise yourself in vibration, which will therefore lead yourself into a higher level of consciousness. That's very basic. Everybody on here understands that. But there are certain aspects or things that are very low vibrational. And I just have them written down here. If you see me, that's what I'm looking at. So feelings and emotions are lower in vibration than your intuition and your presence. Okay, so let me repeat that again. Your thoughts are the lowest vibration. Okay? Above your thoughts is your emotions. That is the second lowest vibration. So when you're operating from your thoughts and your emotions, right? Just think about this in your everyday life. You're operating to thoughts and emotions. You get triggered, you get angry, you get sad, you're happy, I don't know, right? We go through a range of emotions every day. Do you not go through a range of emotions every day? You wake up, you're happy. Next minute, someone pisses you off, you're sad, right? Next minute, you're watching a movie, you're happy. It's so, a really great movie and you're crying tears of happiness. Then you go eat dinner and you burn your dinner and it's cooked and it's like you can't eat it and then you're upset. That's just an example, right? So your emotions are fluctuating every day. So this is extremely low vibrational because it is not stable. And what did I say? In all of my lives, you cannot manifest from a low vibration. You could only manifest to the level of where it's literally going to come true from a higher level of vibration. So if you were stuck in these lower vibrations, like operating from your emotions or operating from like your thoughts, like, oh, I want to go like, I don't know, do something crazy today, right? For people who, like, the example that came in my head was like, people who are like, I'm going to go throw a rock through a windshield today. That's like a really low vibrational thought, right? Because somebody can get hurt. Like, you're not even thinking, like, who does that? But again, if you're operating from these thought forms and you go and do that, the result is a low resulting vibration, right? The result is someone gets hurt. That's not a good vibration to be at, right? You've now done an action that's very hurtful. So again, do you see how these are very low vibrational things, your thought forms and your emotions? So when you're actively living your life every single day we must not work from urge. Yes, don't work from urge. Don't work from feelings. Don't work from lust. Don't work from desire. Don't work from temptation. When you're actively working from your thoughts and your emotions, it will keep you stuck. It will keep you at a lower vibration where you cannot manifest. You will not gain higher access to consciousness. You will not be able to access your superhuman gifts at this level. You need to operate from your intuition and your presence. And this is what I was trying to say when I told you guys that I do this. That's why I'm able to move through life and navigate through difficult situations, because I'm operating from intuition. Spirit will guide you. Spirit will tell you. For example, in my business, I'm not relying on my emotions and how I feel today in my business. Spirit tells me every move to take in my business and when. Imagine that. I really don't need to do much, right? If Spirit's telling me what to do, if the universe is telling me what to do, right? They're giving me the gift of intuition so that I know what to do to move my business forward. They're giving you the gift of intuition. You have to be present. Your presence and intuition is where you need to lead from. It's where you need to make your decisions from, right? Example, again, let's go back to the marriage things, right? If I had made decisions in getting married on my emotions, and I said this before to you guys, the people that I was dating in my 20s and my 30s, if I had married them at that time, I would have gotten divorced by now. I don't know. And that's why we see these divorces happening, right? Because who you are in your 20s is not who you are in your 30s. Who you are in your 30s is not who you are in your 40s, right? It's you marry those people based on your thought patterns, your perceptions, and your emotions at that given time. And then you grow. And then you realize, oh no, I've made a mistake. That's why I tell people wait later, right? To see and figure out and grow and develop yourself enough that you can make an informed decision as to who to have as a partner. So again, I'm using intuition and presence to make that decision, right? I'm using intuition and decision to guide my daily lives. I'm using intuition and decision to run my business. This is what people are talking about when they say that they're living a life from spirit or from source. Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys have any questions. It's a very, very different way of living, and you need access to these gifts. Again, this is why I'm saying the gifts all work together. You need access to the gifts, right? To hear spirit, to hear the intuition, to understand how to use it, to understand how to cultivate and have it manifest in your life, to use the creativity, to create a business where spirit can work through. It all works together. It's all encompassing. It's that concept of oneness that so many spiritual people and gurus and mentors and coaches all talk about, but they're not telling you and they're not explaining it to you in the way that I'm explaining it to you that you need to understand. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense to you guys. I know this is a lot. I know this is deep. But a lot of you are there, and I can see from the comments that a lot of you are understanding what I'm saying. Again, like I've always said, I've never lied about this. There is a lot of work to do. And, you know, I know people get triggered by that because people are like, well, what do I have to do? And like, you know, what does that mean? There's a lot of work. I mean, it's work. All of this is work, right? Yes, you can go through a spiritual awakening, but you need to work through it. You need to literally put in the work. The work that you put in is what the universe and spirit will give back to you. You will see in your 3D life the fruits of your labor. It will manifest and come out in your 3D life. All of this work that you've been doing. That's a lot. And I've said this before, the work is not easy. Right? I've said that like 100 times. I've never been one to shy away from that. The work is like a very, very difficult. So just keep that in mind when you're hearing this. And yeah, just let me know if you guys have any questions or if you need support in any way. I'm going to end this live here. I know we started a little bit late, but we made up the time. If you have any questions, again, feel to DM me. Join the Sovereign Circle broadcast channel. It is free. It's a link in bio on Instagram. I sometimes drop little insights, predictions. I don't know, it's a little bit more deep. Everything I talk about is deep, but again, it's a free broadcast channel. You can interact. There's polls, sometimes there's giveaways. So again, join the free broadcast channel. It's called Sovereign Circle. It's in the link in bio. If you want to book an energy reading, just feel free to DM me, or you can shoot me an email at alignedtocreate@gmail.com. We're live every Sunday at 2 p.m. So feel free to join your live, bring the questions. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and mentorship is also open. And yeah, let me know if you guys need anything else. And if not, I will see you next week, Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. Bye.